This is Spotlight Omaha. Spotlight Omaha is a local podcast that highlights local businesses and influential movers and shakers in the Omaha business community. Spotlight Omaha is brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. Now, from the Pyramid Contractor Studios, the host of Spotlight Omaha, Jimmy Allen.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome inside the Spotlight Omaha podcast, where we take you around the city of Omaha, introduce you to local business owners, influential figures, and people who are making an impact on our community. We are brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. Pixel Fire Marketing is a locally owned marketing firm that specializes in website design, creating social media ads, and engaging your brand online. Check out pixelfiremarketing.com. If your business could benefit from any of that, joining us in the Pyramid Contractor Studio today is Erik Brid with Maggie's Dog Food. Erik, thanks for being here. Again, I appreciate that.
Yep, no problem.
For everybody that was watching live last week, we had some audio issues, and for whatever reason, we lost our sound file. So Erik's going to come back in. We're going to recap what Maggie's Dog Food is. Debbie's Dog. Why I did it again. Debbie's Dog Food. I don't know who Maggie is, but Debbie's Dog Food. And tell everybody how you're helping our four-legged friends in the Omaha area. So give us the concept of who is Debbie and why is she the face of Debbie's Dog Food?
So Debbie is my dog. She's a 5-year-old French bulldog. And where this business idea started from is that she had all kinds of health problems 2-3 years ago. French bulldogs genetically just have a compact little bodies, and their joints have problems. They get allergies. All kinds of different things go wrong with French bulldogs. And Debbie was no exception. Her dad had a bunch of problems that were passed down to her. And I went to a vet that we go to see, routinely for checkups. And she was in all kinds of pain. There was times that she couldn't walk and all kinds of things. And the vet recommended a $10,000 surgery for us to try to fix her spine. And long story short, I decided to try to just feed her healthier food, make her work out, almost treat her like a physical therapy patient type of thing, And ever since we switched her food over to real human grade healthy food, organ meats and stuff like that, she hasn't had a single health problem since. So we're going on 2.5 years now with no health problems that she's been having, no pain, no allergies anymore, no nothing like that. So really, it kind of just happened from me providing better nutrition for her, and then I got some friends into it and some family into it, and now here we have a business.
It's an incredible concept, though, right? Because you're a former athlete. You played baseball at Nebraska, and you spent so much of your life worrying about your health that probably, you're not a doctor, so
right.
that kind of ipso facto helped in the thoughts. And we talked about this last time, but plantar fasciitis is a GI tract problem. There's so many issues caused by what happens in your stomach and your gut. When we talk about, were you surprised that a spine issue was able to be fixed by a healthier diet, or have you just seen that work so much in humans that it was just a no-brainer?
True. It just works so well in humans. So you're right. My history before doing Eat Fit Go, which is a different healthy human food company.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, I was a personal training director for Lifetime Fitness here in Omaha and Chicago. So my whole life was surrounded by exercising and eating right, healthy family growing up and all that. So, when I had clients come in as personal training clients that would say, my joints are always achy and I don't sleep very well and all those other things. Whenever we could clean up their nutrition, all of a sudden, their lower back would start to feel better because of all that inflammation that takes place in the joints. So, it's really the same exact thing with dogs. Their joints are just smaller and they're more compact. So if they're eating food that they shouldn't be eating, and I hate to say it, but traditional kibble dog food is not the greatest nutrition in the world. They will have built up inflammation just like a human would get. So if you can clean that up, just like you said with the gut, and get them to exercise a little bit more, get them moving their joints a little bit more, then all the spinal problems go away, all those hips problems start to go away.
Talk about the ingredients. What is in Debbie's dog food? Why were those the right choices for the health portion of what you do?
It's as simple as you can get. So we have 3 recipes. So there's a beef recipe that is beef, that's potatoes, peas, and carrots. We put beef liver in there. Then we also put an amino acid supplement that helps the dogs, which it's like a multivitamin for the dogs. The other one's a turkey recipe, so it's turkey with rice and pumpkin and blueberries, spinach and broccoli.
And pumpkin's great for the colon
awesome.
and any backed up issues.
That's exactly right. Pumpkin's great for you for sure, and it adds a lot of fiber.
Sure.
And then the last one is a chicken recipe, so that's just going to be chicken with sweet potatoes, broccoli, spinach. We add salmon oil to that one since chicken is a little bit drier. Along with the multivitamin amino acid complex as well.
Feels like that first one, the beef and potatoes thing, you might be able to get an NIL deal with Nebraska.
Oh,
on
for
that.
sure. I know.
See if you guys can help out that way as well. You told the story last time, but the way this concept came about, can you tell the story about the tailgate and the bacon package again? Because I thought that was incredible.
Yep. So one of my best friends, Whit Weeks. So shout out to Whit and Buster, his
shout
dog.
out Whit and Buster.
We host a tailgate every year for home Husker football games in Lot 11 under the bridge. So one time, he was doing the tailgate with me, and he brought an entire raw package of bacon with him.
Yeah.
And Buster is a big chocolate lab. He was 13 years old at the time, and when we parked and started setting up, he just threw the whole package of bacon out on the grass. And I thought to myself, what in the world is going to happen? And then his dog walked over and ate the entire package of bacon. And I said, what in the world are you doing, man?
Yeah.
He said, ever since we started doing this raw thing, our vet told us there was maybe a year left on Buster's life. So we started eating raw chicken and bacon and, steak and all this other stuff. And, he's sure enough, he lived 2 or 3 years past what he was supposed to.
I have to ask, was the attempt of, hey, he's not going to be here this much longer, let's let him eat as best as he possibly can, or were they trying to extend that and just...
It was a combination.
Okay,
combination.
Gotcha.
So he kind of grew up on a farm. Family's got farms and a lot of land. So, those farm animals, they just eat whatever they can find. It doesn't matter,
Right.
And so that same theory came over with him. And yeah, it is a lot more fun. You can throw a package of raw bacon out for your dog to eat as opposed to
and they
dry
probably
kibble.
hate it. Yeah. Hey, talk to me about Debbie and the transition she's gone through. You mentioned she hasn't had any health issues. I know she would go sometimes days without even wanting to get up and walk around or use the bathroom. How quickly, if somebody is switching to Debbie's dog food that has maybe some ailments or issues, should people expect to see a quicker turnaround or improvement in quality of life?
Sure. Yeah, Debbie's was pretty much right away. So, like you were saying, she would go maybe 1 or 2 days once a month where she was in extreme pain, no eating, not walking, certainly not going up and down stairs. But then her worst cases is she would go 3 or 4 days or sometimes a week with that same amount of pain. And we switched her over to the different type of diet. I mean, there was a pretty quick and immediate change that we saw in her. It's just mostly the bowel movements became, almost every day at 11 a.m. Her poops were just tiny little compact poops that were very healthy and very consistent. We started to notice her fur was growing back thicker and shinier and better than ever. Her nails looked a lot better. Her eyes got to be a little bit clearer. So those are the things that we saw really right away. And then you go 30 to 60 and sometimes 90 days without those extremely painful, bouts with her spine and her joints.
Sure.
And you think to yourself, oh my gosh, maybe this is just a thing of the past now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then fast forward 6 months, again, no problems whatsoever. And 1 year, you're still thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to flare up. It's going to happen. You start to prepare for it, and then it never comes. And now here we are 2.5 years later, and she hasn't had a problem since. So it's pretty crazy.
She's not the biggest dog in the world, but you guys are seeing the results in larger dogs as well. Last week, before our audio cut out, we had a question about a Mastiff, and you said you guys have had some success with that. But that comes along with maybe a little bit more food. If somebody has a bulldog and they're looking to try Debbie's dog food, what kind of recommendations from a serving standpoint are you referring to a dog of Debbie's size?
Yep. So Debbie is a French bulldog that's exactly 30 pounds. Yep. So each little meal is made for really a 25 to 40 pound dog.
Okay.
So if you buy one of our meals per day, you can split it up. What Debbie does is she eats usually
and she only eats one meal a day, right?
One meal per day, yeah.
Yep.
So she eats half at about 10 a.m. and then the other half at about 4 p.m. So that way it keeps it nice and tight for her. But the larger dogs, what we've noticed is a lot of elderly dogs or the bigger dogs, people will take our food and add it to their already existing kibble that they use. Yep. So if you got an elderly dog that's a picky eater and you put some warm Debbie's dog food on top of their kibble, they go nuts over it. They're licking the bowls.
That's a great question, and we didn't talk about that last time because it is raw. Mm-hmm. But are some people cooking it and adding it to a hotter meal too?
Yep. So the ingredients of our meals are gently cooked. So they are cooked at extremely low temperatures to keep as many nutrients into the actual ingredients as possible.
Probably get as much bad stuff out.
Yeah. If you're cooking things at high temperatures or boiling them, a lot of those nutrients get cooked away. So we cook at a very low temperature. But yeah, we strongly recommend that people heat up the food because it does come in a microwavable container. That's something that's very different from us than some of these other big national fresh food brands.
Yeah.
And dogs really love it. Like if you give them a hot meal, you can tell how
they're
excited
already best friend.
They smell it, all the stuff. So I know Debbie really loves it when she gets a warm meal every morning for sure.
Every now and then we just cook some rice and broccoli for our dogs and throw it on top of their table. We haven't done the meat thing, which we're really excited I told you about that last time to try this. And we're catching up with Erik Brid of Debbie's Dog Food right here on Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. When we talk about the process, you guys do own Eat Fit Go, and we'll talk about that in a second. But it helped you guys kind of establish having a center to make this product at. But we talked about the vacuum sealed bags. Why was it such a big deal for you guys to try to be able to give something to the client base and your customers that they could seal, freeze, and be able to use down the road?
It just lasts a lot longer, you know. So if the way that our packaging comes is just you'd be able to put it in your freezer for up to 2 years if you really had to. Because like you were saying, we use all of the Eat Fit Go equipment. So that means that we have a nice big vacuum seal machine where the tray of food goes through a machine. You know, it sucks all the air out, and then that film that goes over the top is actually pressed down onto every single ingredient. So you see every little ingredient there. Sometimes you can barely even tell there's a film over it.
Sure.
So because of that type of packaging, if you were to just leave one of Debbie's meals in your refrigerator, it would last 14 days.
Wow.
But it's meant to be frozen. So you put it in your freezer day before, you know, it's like the meal that I'll need tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the refrigerator so that way it gets thawed out and it's a little easier to serve. And then I'll microwave. But the other nice thing is you can put the frozen meals into the microwave for about 2 minutes, just a little bit longer, of course. Then you never have to worry about wasting any food at all because nothing would ever expire on you.
This question comes in from Steven. He wants to know, is there any thought about doing cat food, or is Debbie's dog food easy enough for our feline friends to eat as well?
Your feline friends would definitely be able to eat Debbie's dog food, but there are some ingredients and nutrients that cats need that dogs just don't, so there's a little bit of a gap.
That's what
there.
I was going to ask about.
Yep.
Yeah.
So at some point we would like to feed all of the animals. We'd like to have, you know, cats and horses, and
Sure.
we'd like to be able to do it with everything, and cats will be coming pretty soon.
Yeah, I got to ask, because when we talk about getting this idea from a friend that lives on a farm, they can kind of eat whatever they want. There's a large need for other animals, cows, horses, like you pointed out, chickens. Is that the thought when we talk about growth? Is that kind of okay? How do we help out the domestic animals that are in-home pets in the city, but also maybe reach out to the agricultural world as well?
Possibly.
Okay.
But to answer your question, we are a brand new company. So we love Omaha. Omaha's been great to me my entire life. So we really want to make our name here in Omaha for 2025.
Yep.
And then if there are connections that we can make after we prove ourselves, show sales history, and, you know, really get everything under control, we'd like to go into like the Hy-Vees of the Midwest and some of those types of places. And then ship nationwide would be ideal as well. But I think the future of Debbie's dog food will be also making food for other companies that don't have the resources that we have. So, you know, if there's a family in Wisconsin and they have a similar story, they started a dog food company and maybe they just don't have the production capabilities that we have, we see the future of Debbie's dog food being able to produce meals for any company in the entire world.
Because you guys do white labeling right now, right?
Yeah. So if you're that family farm in Wisconsin that wants to have your own, you know, branded food, you know, Fido's food or whatever it is, we can make all that food for you. You just need to do all the marketing and all that type of stuff. And then, you know, we can grow that way and really try to help out other small businesses that have similar stories.
We didn't talk about this last time, but there are a ton of other, like, there's a lot of national chains here in Omaha. There's a lot of dog food here in Omaha. Have you consulted with any of them or talked to any? Yeah. And what is that? It's so crazy that in this room we have the conversation so many times about how business is supposed to be cutthroat and it's dog eat dog, no pun intended, and everybody's out for themselves and the almighty dollar. But everybody is always like, oh, I work with this company and that company. That's our direct competitor. We bounce stuff off each other. Were you surprised with the response to a new dog food company in Omaha and maybe getting some positive feedback from those larger chains?
I don't know if surprised would be the right word, because Omaha, everybody's just so good to each other here, right? So one of the guys that's been really helpful to me is John Rotella. He's with Rotella's Bread.
John, accept my invite to come on the podcast. I was just talking to him last week. He's going to be a guest.
I'll see him tomorrow morning at the gym.
Tell him you did this, and it was a great experience.
But John, I don't know if
issues, though.
maybe I don't think a lot of people know this, but Rotella's has a dog food brand called Alchemy in it as well. And John has blown that thing up like you can't believe, right?
Yeah.
I think he started it. I think the idea happened maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I believe they're in thousands of stores nationwide, Amazon, Chewy, all these different places. So, you know, the truth is he was one of the first people I called. And he said, man, I got the whole AFCO book for you, which is kind of like the regulatory body that oversees dog food, pet foods.
Well, you can't put in it. So,
Yeah. And so he said, man, I got the whole AFCO basically textbook here. I'd be happy to give it to you if you got any questions, if you need connections, if you want to talk about people who've been in this industry before, if you're trying to hire or whatever else it may be. He's been there for us the whole time. So big shout out to John. He's great.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned where you'd like to be. Can you tell people where they can find Debbie's Dog Food currently and how they can purchase it?
Yep. So we have it for sale at the Eat Fit Go store in Village Point.
Yep.
Heartland Paws was one of our first stores. That's on 156th and Dodge, right next to Baker's. Nature Dog on 132nd and Maple is another great company that's a little bit more north next to Baker's as well on 132nd and Maple. And then WAG, if you're in the Midtown or downtown area, WAG on like 24th and Leavenworth is also carrying our food.
Fantastic.
Yep.
When we talk about the online portion of it, you guys are already starting to do that, right? You're selling stuff online.
Yep.
What has been the biggest hurdle with that so far?
Oh, setting up subscription.
Yeah, sure.
The online ordering is not the most difficult thing in the world. There's a lot of companies out there that do a great job with building websites, like your company.
Yeah. PixelFireMarketing.com.
There you go. But yeah, the online ordering is going right now. We have subscriptions. If you're anywhere in America, you can order from Debbie'sDogFood.com. But we definitely just want to focus on Omaha, West Omaha, maybe Lincoln someday, Des Moines, Kansas City. But yeah, you go to Debbie'sDogFood.com, place an order. You can get it on subscription, see how your dog likes it, and then you can just have your food show up right at your front door every 2 weeks.
What about the distribution portion of it? Because obviously WAG's not coming to your location to pick stuff up, right? You have to send it. Who's doing that for you?
Yeah, so Eat Fit Go. We have a nice refrigerated van that is paid off with Eat Fit Go. So we make
congratulations on that.
So we make deliveries in our refrigerated van for Eat Fit Go every Sunday morning to houses for free. And then we also do a bunch of deliveries on Monday to just different businesses that people want healthy human foods in their break rooms and stuff like that. So on Tuesday through Saturday, that van is really being unused unless we need to make an emergency trip to Restaurant Depot or Costco or something for a missing ingredient. So we actually use that van to be able to transport food around.
Let's talk about Eat Fit Go for a minute, because that's your other business venture, and that's to help humans live healthier lives. Two-legged friends live in better lives instead of four-legged friends. How did you get into Eat Fit Go, and why did you start that business?
So Eat Fit Go kind of spawned from my personal training days as well. A little bit of being a Husker and a little bit of having a really awesome mom that cooked home-cooked meals every day growing up. But really, I've always had great nutrition with family dinners every night growing up. And then when I was a Husker, they take massive pride in their nutrition program and their strength and conditioning program. So it was just normal throughout college. And then when you became a personal trainer, at Lifetime, every personal trainer meal preps, right? You make chicken, broccoli, and rice every Sunday. And then you have your week's worth of meals, right? So it became very normal. And then I started making some meals for some of my clients when I was in Chicago. And then that turned into kind of making some restaurant connections here in Omaha, the younger group of guys that wanted to get into healthy foods but didn't have somebody that kind of had the personal training background or wanted to do the sales and all that type of stuff. So the summer of 2015, so we're actually going on our 10-year anniversary this year, is when the local Omaha-based Eat Fit Go got started.
When you're an athlete your entire life, and you've spent as much time in your personal development, you talk about your time as a personal trainer. Why is it such a big deal for you with Eat Fit Go? Because that's not a direct, hey, this is my dog being affected. This is helping other people. Why is it such a big deal for you to be able to help athletes and people that are trying to take care of their body be healthy and get that meal available sometimes at their gym or wherever they may be?
Yeah, it's an easy way to sleep at night. There's a
good point.
10-year joke that I kind of have going with some of my staff when things get stressful, when store managers, come and go, and sometimes all these.
Or people difficult to deal with.
Yeah. But I always say, we're in a business where the product that we sell actually helps people out and makes them healthier.
That's a good point.
So if you look at it that way and you have a sales goal, you want to sell more food. There's some companies out there that they're selling products that aren't making people better, and the more that they sell,
be better, McDonald's.
It really results in people being sicker. Like the comparison I always make, which is somewhat unfair, but like a pharmaceutical sales rep, right? Like, oh my gosh, I sold more, diabetes medication or heart, medication than ever. And it's like, well,
pain meds that make you inflame.
There you go. Yeah. You get you addicted too. but the underlying cause doesn't get fixed, and it's one of those things where at Eat Fit Go, if we say, wow, we found a new partnership or we raised up our sales this month, that just means that more people are getting healthy. Like that's like the ultimate,
sure,
sense of
win-win.
purpose.
You're not out there pedaling Hondas missing a muffler, right?
Yes, man, a sense of purpose of what you do
Sure.
on a day-to-day basis makes working a lot easier.
We're catching up with Erik Brid of Debbie's Dog Food here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. Where do you think your sense of helping people comes from?
Boy, that's a great question. I don't know. I guess selfishly, I find my happiness in helping other people.
Sure. I don't think that's selfish at all, man. That's
it's kind of one of those, it's kind of a catch-22 where, the happier you are, the more you smile, the more impact you have on other people, the happier people are to see you.
Yeah,
the more willing people are to help you.
There's a direct correlation between generosity and happiness.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think that's
and it's a two-way street, right?
Yeah,
when you walk into a room and you're smiling and you're happy and you're energetic, it's almost like the people in the room don't want to let you down.
Right.
They want to raise up. They want to be happy. They want to feel relieved and wanted. And the opposite is true. If you have a frown on your face and you look like you're angry and you don't want to be bothered and there's a group of people around you, they're going to give you that same energy back. So I feel like, just maybe selfishly speaking, I like it when people around me are smiling. So I just try to smile as
Being
much as I can.
Being happy is nice. What a weird concept. Hey, you're from here. You went to high school at Omaha Burke. You played for Nebraska in baseball. Why is it such a big deal for you to be able to do business in your backyard?
Because everybody's always helped us out. And so, tomorrow morning, here's a good example. Tomorrow morning, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m., I work out with a huge real estate guy here in Omaha named Van Deeb.
Yeah, he's also a radio personality as well.
Yes, he's a big timer, right? So he had a multi-million-dollar company in Dallas. I think he said 2 or 3 huge multi-million-dollar companies here in Omaha now. But growing up, from 12 years old until 18 years old, he sponsored every single team that I played on, right? Cool. So every T-shirt, all the jerseys, everything had Deeb Realty on it, right? So it's Prime Realty now. But those types of people and those mentors that I still have in my life were the people, it's crazy to think about, but were the people that were helping me. He didn't really know me at the time.
Sure, but he was impacting your life without knowing.
Exactly
right.
right. So when we were at Burke, he's a Burke grad himself. So every single summer baseball team we played on, he paid for everything. It was Deeb Realty Bulldogs.
Sure,
that was our name. So it's just this type of community, and Willie Thiessen, who started Godfather's Pizza, he was one of my personal training clients at Omaha, for 2 or 3 years. And the amount of connections that he's made for me and advice, and
sold a lot of pizzas.
Yeah, he's sold about $400 million worth of pizza, I think. So he's had a big impact too, because he is nowadays completely dedicating his time to serving Omaha.
Yeah,
he's at
doing a fantastic job.
He's relentless. He's got more energy than I could ever imagine. So when you grow up around those types of guys here in Omaha. They're making the connections for you. They're opening the doors. They're trying to help you out.
It's almost contagious, right?
Yeah, and you want to just keep on doing it. Like right now, just last week, I do a UNL, entrepreneur competition. Basically, it's been kind of been going on now for about 6 years with UNL and UNO's business program. But these younger kids that are 18, 19 years old now, they get in these competitions where they want to start a business.
Yeah. And
then they present them, twice a year, basically.
It's almost like DECA, but in a smaller form.
Yeah. So they do like these capstone assessments. They have all these other things that they do. But that younger generation, it's really great for me and the energy that I get from it to be able to meet with these kids and say, man, this is next generation's in good hands. They're going to be awesome.
That's incredible to hear, because I think everybody talks about all these kids want to do is be on their cell phones, and we live in a TikTok generation. But it's those things seem to be fads, and I think the one thing that we've noticed, because one of the debates we've been having in this room is college versus trade, and it's crazy how many people will champion education, how many people will champion entrepreneurship. There seems to be a happy medium there for a lot of people as well, especially for somebody like yourself. When you're talking to the next generation and somebody asks you, hey, is college worth it? What's your response to that?
It depends on what you're going into.
That's the right answer.
I mean, totally. It depends. If you want to be a doctor or an accountant or a lawyer, of course, go to school. Yeah,
a little bit of requirements there.
But you mentioned it. These trade jobs these days, man. I got a couple family members that own electrical companies and oil change shops and stuff like that. They're making more money than anybody.
We've had 15 millionaires in this room that didn't graduate college.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. You know, it really depends where you want to go. But this
Not that education's not important, but it's just like
No.
it's the American dream, right? You can't achieve it.
Right. But you know, there's a lot of other things that come along with college too. Like I really loved my college experience. I mean, I got to play on some really great baseball teams, and my teammates and I are all getting together tomorrow. So, you know, without college, I wouldn't have that experience. But then the other side of college too is that, you know, it's just part of life, right? Like it teaches you to overcome challenges. Maybe you don't want to have to go to class on a certain day, or maybe you're not, you know, don't love a subject or whatever, but you just have to get it done.
Sure.
And from 18 years old to 22 years old, sometimes a good lesson to learn
Builds
is
work ethic.
being able to figure out how the heck to get things done when you don't have your parents, you know, over your back, and you don't have your high school principal or whatever else.
Yeah.
So if you're, you know, if you take 4 years and you learn and you absorb a ton of information at college, and at the same time you're networking, you're joining a frat or a sorority, you know, maybe you're part of clubs and all those different types of things.
That's a great point.
It's awesome,
Yeah.
man. Like at 18 to 22 years old, you should be absorbing everything you can. And then by the time you become a senior in college, guess what? You're tired of college and you can't wait to get a job.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of one of these things where, you know, it's not the worst thing in the world to go to a 4-year college and try to figure out what the heck you want to do. When I went to college, I thought I was going to be mowing lawns or taking care of golf courses.
Right.
And then I switched over to wanting to be a firefighter.
Of course.
And I went through paramedic school and fire school. And then I ended up getting a job as a personal trainer.
Yeah.
Did that for 5 years.
I thought you were only going to do it for a couple months.
Yeah,
right?
did that for 5 years.
Yeah.
And if I never do any of that type of stuff and I never go through those challenges of trying to figure out what the heck I want to do, then Eat Fit Go probably never exists.
Sure.
And if Eat Fit Go never exists, then
Debbie's Dog Food
probably never exists. So
it's so crazy how many people we've talked to that are like, I started doing this just trying to get through the summer when I was 19. It's just turned into being in business for 20 plus years. It's incredible. Hey, we've talked about a lot today, man. Is there anything about Debbie's Dog Food or Eat Fit Go that we haven't mentioned that people should know about?
No, I mean, eatfitgo.com. You can order locally. We deliver for free. It's getting warm outside, so you can't be wearing your hooded sweatshirts anymore. It's time to get in shape.
That's right.
But yeah, Debbie's Dog Food. If you go to the debbiesdogfood.com, and you can ask questions on there if you want to try to figure out what's going on with it. But if you got any listeners that are interested in having to try out their dog food, we offer a 50% discount. So if you're listening to this, you go to debbiesdogfood.com, send us a contact us info email and say, hey, I was listening to Eric on Jimmy's podcast, and you know I want to take advantage of that 50% off. Then we'll provide you a 50% off food so you can try it out with your dogs.
You want to give your dog a better life? You want to do it for 50% off? Head over to Debbie's Dog Food today and tell Eric that you heard about him on Spotlight Omaha podcast. Him and his team would be happy to get your four-legged friend headed in a better life direction after today. Eric, I appreciate you coming back in and doing this.
Right,
we'll have to have you back in and talk Husker baseball sometime.
No doubt.
This has been the Spotlight Omaha podcast brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. We'll see you on Monday at 11. Thanks for joining us.